A wealthy landowner's wife whose guard dog savaged a policeman in a bitter family feud has been ordered to pay damages. Her dog tethered a 65-feet chain, pounced on the officer and dragged him to the ground before sinking its teeth into his thigh. The hound refused to let go of PC Banks until Mrs. Redgrave Scott pulled it away. The police officer suffered puncture wounds to his leg and required a booster injection and stitches in hospital because he was struggling to walk. At Stockport Magistrates Court, Mrs. Redgrave Scott, a mother of 7, she admitted have a dog dangerously out of control and was ordered to pay damages and serve a 12-month community order. The court heard the incident arose out of a long-running dispute between Mrs. Redgrave Scott and her stepson Adam after she married his widowed father Richard Scott, now 81. In 2015, following a 23-year courtship, it was claimed Adam, 55, who lives at a luxury farmhouse on the complex, had feared he would lose out on inheriting his father's farm note haul as a result and reported his stepmother to police on various occasions. Mrs. Redgrave Scott had herself previously signed a no-biting behavioral contract after the dog jumped up at guests staying at her B&B on the farm in the tiny village of Marthill, near Knutsford, Cheshire. The 10-year-old animal has since been destroyed. She was ordered to pay the injured officer £100 compensation, complete a 12-month community order and abide by 9-week curfew demanding she remain inside Mothall Farm from 9 p.m. to 6 a.m. 7 days a week. She escaped disqualification from keeping dogs. The court heard the incident occurred last December 6 after Mr. Scott Jr. called police about an issue at the farm. Prosecuting Lynn Rogers said PC Simon Banks and another officer attended the property but upon realizing this was a civil matter, left the bungalow on the farm. Upon leaving, PC Banks was walking to the police car to collect some paperwork when he heard galloping feet coming towards him at speed. The dog flew at his left leg and bit him on the back of the thigh, dragging him to the floor. The incident happened so fast that the officer did not have time to react. He didn't put his arms out to protect his fall, so he caused injury from the fall and from the dog's bite. He suffered injury to his left thigh, elbow, knee and calf. The dog refused to let him go until the owner came and removed it. Once he stood up, he struggled to walk and could feel his leg physically shaking as he attempted to move. The officer noted that the dog was attached to a 20-m chain that was attached to a kennel, but there was no muzzle. Mrs. Redgrave Scott later said she forgot to put a muzzle on the dog after becoming distracted when she came back from walking it. But in a statement, PC Banks said, "I have felt this has affected me mentally and physically. I went round to the property at Mothall Farm following a call from the defendant's stepson. My partner and I realized this was a civil matter, so we left. I was walking towards the police car to gather some documents for them to sign when I heard galloping coming from behind me. I turned around and this huge black dog jumped at me and pulled me down to the ground. I remember putting my arm up to protect my hand and shouting at the dog to get off me. It had hold of the back of my leg. I managed to shake it off and pushed it away from me before its owner came over to calm it down. I could feel myself shaking. I hurt my right side and my elbow from falling. I had to go to hospital to have an injection because of the bite. I had stitches also." In mitigation, defense lawyer Angelo Saponier said, "My client hasn't slept and has had to maintain her employment and caring for her husband full-time. Whilst looking after a family, she runs a B&B with her eldest son and has 7 children with her husband, who is 81, but she has had a lot of trouble from her stepson Adam." On that day in question, he called the police because work was being done on the farm that he wasn't happy about. He has taken them to the social services, to the courts of protection. He has got the police involved on a number of occasions. It is my thinking that he wants some part of the inheritance. He lives across the road from the family and is constantly calling the police trying to report them. She came back from walking the dog, chained him up and saw the police. In her own words, they marched her into the living room. so she got distracted and couldn't go back to the dog and put his muzzle on. She was distracted by the police officers and did not have time to put the muzzle on. Mr. Sapanier added she is a full-time carer for her husband who suffered from a stroke a number of years back. He has slowly lost his speech. He cannot dress, bathe, shave himself, so she has to do everything for him. She has a farm to run, a B&B to run, a family to look after and a husband to care for. She is not one of those people who walks around the town center with a big scary dog used to fight and intimidate people. It was on a chain in the yard out of public way. This experience has been awful for her and she expresses the utmost remorse and apology to the victim. She works hard to look after her family and it would be pointless to see her put in prison, especially as she provides so much for her family and the community. Redgrave Scott was also ordered to pay £170 costs. Her husband, whose family have farmed in the area for generations, became well known across Cheshire after he held controversial car boot sales on his land in the 1990s.
Where the freaks at?